Welcome back to another episode of the Career Ready Great Dane podcast. It's a podcast out of the University at Albany's Career and Professional Development Office, and I'm Jessica. And we have two special guests today. Really, the episode today is talking about Great Danes NYC, that program, and what that means in terms of career development, how it can help with networking, etc. But I will have the experts talk a little bit more and introduce themselves. So, Rob?
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Roberto Peguero, and I'm an Assistant Director for Alumni Outreach and Development in the Office of Career and Professional Development. I know, big, long title, but basically what I do is I work with our alum and corporate partners to develop career exploration opportunities for students, such as Great Danes in NYC.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jumana Ibrahim. I'm a junior at the University at Albany. I'm double majoring in higher education and sociology.
Thank you. Welcome, both of you. So, Rob, for listeners who have never heard of Great Danes NYC and may not be familiar with that program, can you just tell us a little bit about it?
Sure, Jessica. Our Great Danes NYC program is our New York City-based company site visit program. Great thing about Great Danes NYC, we leverage the fact that a large portion of our student population, as well as our alumni base, are based out of that New York City metropolitan area. 5 boroughs, Westchester County, maybe some other additional surrounding counties. So we leverage that during the first full week of January, where we have students visit a number of different companies, not only to gain career exploration, but also an opportunity to network with UAlbany alums as well as others that work at these respective companies, organizations, and corporations.
All right. And Jumana, what made you want to apply to Great Danes NYC?
I heard first about Great Danes in NYC when I was doing another program with Roberto, which is Goldman Sachs. And I heard about it. I was like, oh, my God, I live in Albany, so going to New York City is always like a big thing for me. So I was like, this sounds so cool. I get to go to New York City. I get to go with like our university, meet alumni, go to different sites and companies. So it sounded very exciting.
Okay, cool. So, Rob, I know we have partnerships with alumni and other companies. So can you tell us some companies that typically or have participated in the past?
Oh, yeah, definitely. In the past, we've had a large array of companies and organizations that have partnered with us. Just to name a few, Bank of America, American Express, the NBA, LinkedIn, Google, Meta, Facebook, as most people, older folks, I guess, remember it. But just to name a few more, TD Securities and New York Stock Exchange, and that's just to name a few. We've had many, Enterprise, Mobility as well, and many financial institutions, Citi, as many might know, Citibank or Citigroup as well.
Yeah. And I remember I have gone on a few of these site visits. I remember we did the New York City Department of Education, and that was interesting. So, yeah, it's a great experience and exposure professionally for students to see what does it look like to work in that industry, in that field, in that office. And one reason, Jumana, that I wanted you on specifically for this podcast is just because sometimes we hear some of these programs are meant just for business students or business adjacent, and a lot of the visits feel in that realm. And so I wanted someone outside of a business major to sort of talk about their experience too, and for other students just to know that this isn't just for business-related students, right? We have employers who are hiring across all majors. So it's important to just get that sort of exposure, and we try to think about that diversity too. So Jumana, walk us through your Great Danes NYC experience. You come, did you take the train? What did you do once you got there? Who did you visit? Anything memorable that you want to talk about?
Yes, of course. I honestly had a great experience in New York City. Great Danes in New York City. I rave about it to everybody I know. I talk about it a lot. What I did is I kind of made it a little trip because I am not from New York City, so I had to book a hotel, I had to book a bus there and back, and I had to see like how I would get to each site. So I had to do a lot of planning beforehand. But if you have family in New York City, of course, it's easier to stay with them. But that wasn't an option for me. I took the bus there from Albany because there's a lot of buses that go from Albany to the city. A lot of students do utilize that. And I stayed next to my sites. So both of my sites were in Manhattan. I visited Kaiser, which is a lobbying board, and L'Oreal Paris. And I stayed around those areas. I made sure that where I stayed was next to the bus stop. It was next to my sites because I'm not familiar with the area, of course. So you have to take those kind of things into consideration. I got there. I went to Times Square. I kind of like was in shock of the city because even though I live in Albany, I never really went to the city by myself, kind of explored what was going on. But of course, I had to keep in mind, like, I have to be safe. I'm by myself. Keep all those in mind. So the first day I went to Kaiser, which was in the financial district. It was an awesome visit. It was a lobbying firm. It was something that wasn't typically like, because I am an education major, that I would consider going to. But going there and speaking to both of the gentlemen there, who are both alumni from University of Albany, Michael Byrne and Nicholas Peppa, it was an amazing experience. I got exposed to a career that I would never considered. And we talked about like what lobbying means and the kind of connotation that's attached to it. And I got to meet the other students that were there, which were typically business majors, accounting majors, finance majors. And I felt like I really got good exposure to a career that I might consider, that what kind of skills that I gained through my major that maybe I would consider going into a lobbying career. Then the second day, I went to L'Oreal Paris, which is the one I was really excited for because it's a makeup company. I love L'Oreal products, and it was like a dream. Farah Bernday was the one hosting us, and she was an amazing host. She's also a University of Albany alumni. We went in, we got goodie bags. They kind of gave us some snacks. We had a tour of the facility. We had a panel with a lot of the people from L'Oreal, so people with different titles, and they kind of explained to us how their system works and what kind of careers that you can have in L'Oreal. And not just business majors. A lot of the people that presented to us weren't business majors. Some of them were sociology majors. Some of them were majors that don't typically work in business, but they were able to leverage their experience into the business field. So L'Oreal was amazing.
Jessica, can I just highlight something that Jumana said? I think this is the second Great Danes NYC that you've gone to, right?
It's the first.
It's the first one?
Yeah.
I thought it was the second one. Well, regardless.
I'm coming next year.
You're coming next year, though, right? But I think Jumana's a good example of a non-business, because a lot of folks, like we said, think, oh, it's just for business students or business-adjacent majors, right? But I think Jumana's a good example of someone who's not a business major, but went to companies, visited a couple of companies where you think, well, they just want to talk to business majors. But no, there are so many opportunities at companies, at different companies, corporations, that hire and are attracted to non-business majors. Because one of the things we're trying to do in our career office is communicate to students the transferable skills and experiences, not just from the classroom, but outside the classroom, that transcend industries and companies. And you'd be surprised how many non-business majors a lot of companies hire.
Yeah.
And I think Jumana's a great example of a student that, decided, you know what, I'm not a business major, but I'm going to step out on a limb and, go for it and see what's out there and available to me.
Yeah.
But more importantly, to see what I can learn from the experience.
Yes.
That's why I think this is such a great program for the exploration piece, right? You just never know. And so that sort of is a good segue into the next question, Rob. How do you feel these site visits help students make more informed decisions about their careers?
A great question, Jessica. I'll frame it this way first. Give you an idea of a typical site visit. Typical site visits last anywhere from 90 minutes to about 2 hours. typically find 90 minutes is about the sweet spot, but they typically look like this. When students arrive, they'll be greeted. Typically, there'll be some initial, casual conversation with the employees and/or alums, UAlbany alums that work at their respective company or organizations. And then typically they'll go into either a presentation type style of format where they'll have a presenter and/or presenters talking about the different aspects of the company as well as the industry that company navigates and flourishes in. And then they'll go, there's always question and answer throughout the presentation, but then there's a portion at the end where there's some type of question and answer period. They also typically like to end the presentations with conversation about career-related opportunities, whether that's internships or post-graduation career-related opportunities, and how to, pursue those, apply, and navigate the processes towards applying and moving forward. Oftentimes, but not all times, there might be a tour of the company or the organization if there's anything, anything interesting to see. Sometimes you'll be surprised. Some companies you would think there's a lot to see, and they're just offices with conference rooms and meeting rooms and things of that nature. But the typical site is, like I said, it's usually presentation, rounding out the discussion with some personnel from HR discussing career-related opportunities, whether internship or post-graduation. Or they might take the form of a panel discussion or smaller roundtable discussions, depending on how big the group is that's attending a respective site visit. With that said, I think what it does well is it informs students pretty much nuts to bolts. What's this company about? What's XYZ company about? What's the industry that they, I like to say navigate in, is about. And then once again, drilling down to the different opportunities that are at the respective company or organization. So a student will walk away from that opportunity, from that experience, learning about the company, learning about their respective industry, as well as having an opportunity to network with alums and or others that work at the respective company and or organization, and then finally walk away with an idea of what does the career, search process at that respective organization or company looks like.
Yeah.
And how to go about it, even to the point where, like deadline dates for internships. For example, a lot of companies right now, they're opening up their internship application and search periods anywhere from 12 to 18 months in advance. So it's important to know that so you could be ahead of the curve.
Sure. And I think there's also some of the unspeakable things that you pick up from these site visits, like how are folks dressed? What is their mannerism? How do they work with their team members? Correct. How do they communicate? So some of those professionalism things that you understand once you're in that world, but if you've never seen it before, it's a good bird's eye view too.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. It definitely exposes students to, like you said, those unspoken, aspects of the work world, for example, right? Like you said, how to dress, what the, bigger thing is what the company organization culture is about. Right. Because it's important to know that, understanding company or organizational culture gives you an opportunity to determine, would you fit in that culture or company? Is it a place where you're going to, feel like you belong?
Yes.
Are accepted, but are also able to thrive and be successful?
Yes. So, Jumana, L'Oreal gave you some of those little items in a little goodie bag.
Yes.
That we might want to touch on that, but what was the most memorable moment or interaction you had during the visit? If it's not the L'Oreal gift bag, you got to tell me what your favorite product was too.
Honestly, I was thinking about this question, and I had two moments that were very memorable. Okay. When we went to Kaiser, we had a great roundabout discussion with both of the gentlemen there. We talked about, the development projects that they were doing. We kind of touched upon what we think about them as students and how that translates into the work they're doing. They asked us questions about how we feel about certain things going on in the city, and we kind of answered. It was a great discussion. Like, I felt like I was working there by having that discussion with them, and I felt a part of that community. So I think it was a memorable moment, and I was able to connect with them and network with them as well. Another memorable moment was L'Oreal. They took us to their company shop. So their company shop, everything is 50% off.
Oh, wow.
And if you buy their products, L'Oreal and their like collaborative companies, stuff is expensive. Like $50 items were $25. They had $3 items. So me and the other girls that were in L'Oreal, like everybody was really happy with that, and that was one of my favorite parts. And we were very thankful for Farah for giving us that opportunity at for L'Oreal as well. But I think both visits, gave me an opportunity to see kind of, as you said, a bird's eye view of what happens inside the company and how their day-to-day goes. Like we kind of asked them, like, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? How does your morning go? How does your afternoon go? So I think that was very insightful as well, because you kind of hear like, oh, this person works at a lobbying firm. What do they do on a day-to-day basis? How does their work week look? And I think that's important as well when you are considering career, knowing how your day-to-day works, knowing how that work-life balance works as well.
So did this experience, Jumana, did this change, confirm your career interest, just sort of reflecting back on the site visits?
I think it definitely opened my eyes to more career interests that I do. I was very set in stone in working in education, but having these career visits kind of gave me a view of like, oh, maybe if I don't want to work in education, I have these skills, I can work in these companies. And I think it was very important for me to have an open mind, especially when it comes to the type of career I want to pursue, because education is very vast. So these kind of gave me the opportunity to look into other career opportunities that aren't in education.
Okay. And say you're a fellow Great Dane is out there listening, sort of maybe considering Great Danes NYC for next winter session. What would you say to them about applying to this program, or what advice maybe would you give them?
I would tell them to go for it. I think it is a great opportunity. I believe that it was fun, it was engaging, and it was insightful and informative. I would give them the advice to have professional clothing. If you want, you can check out Purple Threads. That's what I did for mine. I got all my clothing for Purple Threads.
Oh, wow, good.
Yep.
Nice plug for Purple Threads.
Yeah. They actually helped me a lot. Be on time. Actually, be early, especially in the city. Please be early. Be 15 minutes early. Be professional. Always talk to the people there. Don't be intimidated by them. A lot of times you get their LinkedIns, you get their cards, you were able to kind of connect with them. And they're also, a lot of them are Great Danes as well. So talk to them about campus, talk to them about their experience at University of Albany, and you were able to connect that way.
Yeah, and I agree. I think do a little bit of research ahead of time. Maybe come prepared with some questions that you want to ask. I mean, there might be things that come up on the spot, but it's great to be prepared, and I think that shows initiative on your part from the folks hosting you. And read your email. If you get in, you get a slot. Make sure you read, because there are times where you need to bring an ID or some other form of identification. So you just want to make sure you have everything you need and you're prepared. Yes,
definitely read. They send a lot of emails. They make sure you're very prepared. So please read your emails. Like, I like to pin each of the emails that I get from Great Danes in New York City and reread them, and make sure I'm prepared. Make sure I research the company. Write down just bring a notebook with you, write down information about the company, like when it was founded, who's the CEO, what do they do? So when you ask questions, they're very insightful questions.
Yes, that's great. Great tips. And it sounds like a great experience. And you mentioned you plan to do it again for the next round, which is good. Get more exposure to different sites. Yeah. So that's all my formal questions. Rob, anything you want to add that we did not touch on that you think is important?
I mean, I think we touched on pretty much all the highlights of Great Danes NYC. Once again, Jumana and other students like her, they do a great job of, like I said, reading the emails, making sure they're on top of all the communication that comes from our office, specifically myself, regarding their respective trips throughout the week. One thing I will say about Great Danes NYC, you'll notice Jumana went to 2 site visits. Mm-hmm. You're not restricted.
Okay.
How many site visits you can go. You can go to 1 or many. Now, I will say this, that most of the companies are restrictive from this perspective. they let us know which students they want to engage with based on class year and or major, right? Some companies, they don't care. They'll see anyone and everybody regardless of class year or major. Others might want to target specific majors and or class years depending on their recruiting cycles and so on and so forth. So that's the one thing I always want students to be mindful of. They'll say, well, I tried to register, apply for XYZ company, and it wouldn't let me register. And that's usually because you might not fit the criteria based on major and or class year that they're looking to engage with. It's not a you thing, as I like to say. It's more with the companies and who the companies are looking to engage with.
Got it. Okay, that's a good point.
But I don't think that should limit you. Like, honestly, you should look and see, especially with the class year one, make sure you do it class year. But I made sure to find ones that are open to all majors. Correct. And a lot of them are open to all majors.
Correct.
So don't let that limit you.
Yes. Yep. Well, thank you so much. Great Danes NYC is such a great program. I love joining students on those site visits, and I get a lot of information myself. And then obviously it's a conduit and an avenue for students, a pipeline of alumni who are willing to give back in time and effort. So this has been great. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk about Great Danes NYC. And if you want, follow this podcast. You can even review it if the joy strikes you. But continue to listen, and the next episode will drop soon. So we'll check you next time.